Especially during the spring when mud is abounding, I can feel like I have no clue how to keep a house tidy. However, there are other times when I'm feeling a bit more confident in my abilities to keep a home tidy and organized. I like the word tidy instead of clean because the word frames itself in a way that seems less about perfection. My aim in keeping my home tidy is not perfection, but rather a way to control the overwhelm. Minnesota tends to be a bit bipolar when it comes to ushering spring weather. It tends to be spring and then winter again at least 5 times before settling into actual spring. Meanwhile, that means my home's floors fluctuate between mud, dirt, and rain, leaving shadows on the floor, stains on the carpet, and occasionally a feeling of complete defeat. Keeping a tidy house can feel like an impossible task, especially if you have little kids, a big family, or just too much stuff. But the good news is that small daily habits can make a huge difference, including during the spring when it seems like our efforts are completely useless. You can create a home that stays organized and clean with minimum effort. The best way to maintain a clean house isn't about deep cleaning every single day. It's about developing good habits that become second nature. So here are my 5 simple ways to keep your home tidy on a daily basis. But remember, we're not aiming for perfection, and it's going to look different for everyone. These are just my 5 ways. We're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for good enough to keep our sanity and fight the feeling of overwhelm. All the things that I talk about today can be found at healinghome.co in the accompanying blog post. All the links as well. Welcome to Healing Home. I hope you are encouraged and inspired by your time here. Today I'm making a sourdough artisan loaf, and I'm also making an acorn puff pancake for the boys after school lunch. This is not my typical bread routine because my kids usually don't like thicker crusts. I typically make what I call sandwich loaves, which has butter or an egg that keeps the crust and texture soft. There has been something about sourdough this last trimester of pregnancy that has really been cathartic and calming for me. We've had sourdough creation multiple times a week, and the starter has barely left the countertop, which is not honestly normal for me. There's usually some times where I stick the thing in the fridge and then bring it back out and refresh it, but that just hasn't happened recently. The goal in the kitchen is never to let it get overwhelming. That's going to be a common theme already in these goals. The feeling of overwhelm can just suck the joy out of the life of a homemaker. That's a squirrel, that's the chipmunk, that's the groundhog. I'm always cleaning as I go in the kitchen. That's a little harder for lunch because it's usually right after we're finishing up school, and I'm also trying to tidy up the wave of homeschool chaos. Most of kitchen cleanup is doing the basics: wiping down countertops, putting away dishes, and making sure the pantry and garbage area are tidied up. On a weekly basis, I take a few minutes to clean out the pantry and fridge. I discard leftovers to the chickens and pig pile, check expiration dates, toss packaged food that only has crumbs remaining, and move around raw milk if it's applicable at the time. Honestly, I'm always wiping down my refrigerator and vacuuming out crumbs because a dirty fridge drives me batty. But like I said, once a week, I try to get all the way into the back of the fridge. Depending on the week, it takes about 10 to 25 minutes. Most of the time, the goal of a tidy house is to keep it from being overwhelming. There, I said that word again. We never want to get to a place where we look at our space and think we'll need hours to bring it back to a place of calm. I once heard a cleaning author say that a room should only take 20 minutes to get back to working order. Any longer than that, there's a piece of dysfunction that needs to be fixed. I also have my office space in my kitchen, which, truth be told, I don't love. But I'm always working on keeping that area blending in with the kitchen area and as tidy as possible. Post-it notes used to be my biggest pet peeve around that area, until I found some that were vintage colors, which for whatever reason makes it so much better for me. Another tidy tip for the kitchen is to make sure you have dinner planned in your mind somehow. This is another one of those overwhelm tips. I find that on days when I forget about dinner, the kitchen gets excessively more messy. I have my homemaking binder where I often jot down ideas for the week, but I'm not an extensive planner, and I honestly like to keep it that way. One thing I do is write down seasonal meals that we rotate. That way, for each season, I have a grocery list of staples that I want to have on hand. If you're watching the accompanying YouTube video on this particular day, I'm making that puff pancake for the kids' after school meal and also prepping some sourdough biscuits and taking out one of our pig roasts for dinner. If you're like me and are not a meal planner, then I personally find a good rule of thumb is to think about breakfast the night before, think about lunch after breakfast, and think about dinner after lunch. I'm sure that's sort of a universal practice, but as I often like to say around here, I am preaching to myself. Truly Free is a clean line of products that can radically change the toxic load in your home, and today's video is brought to you by Truly Free. Now, there are many products in the Truly Free line, but today I want to focus on their laundry detergent, which is really what drew me into the Truly Free brand. 8 years ago, I started on my cloth diaper journey, which, to be clear, I don't currently do. But that journey introduced me to the toxins in our detergents, which are abundant, and truth be told, I've never found a clean detergent that I totally trust, until Truly Free. The detergent is a powerful stain remover, yet natural, and uses quadrisalt technology to remove tough stains. It is free from harmful chemicals like chlorine bleach, phosphates, sodium sulfate, and 1,4-dioxane. It's effective in cold water and septic safe. With my code HEALINGHOME, you can try this detergent and make a small shift to toxic-free living. The code will get you 30% off, which means 50 loads of laundry will cost just over $13. I really believe you will love Truly Free.
Is it in the bedroom? I kind of think it is in the bedroom.
Wait, why we got it out once?
Never mind, I found it.
It's no secret that we have a lot of boys around here, and they're young boys at that. We will have 3 boys, 2 and under pretty soon, and I've honestly had a bit of fear surrounding that. It doesn't matter the age though, there will always be additional stuff floating around when you have a lot of people living under one roof. I know not everyone can do this, but I love my toy rotational system. I'm a big proponent of having big baskets around our house that separate types of toys like Legos, wooden blocks, Transformers, cars, monster trucks, and magnet tiles, just to name a few. We have a big closet downstairs in the basement to keep the toys organized, and it makes a great storage area, and I regularly rotate the toys in the baskets to keep the toys fresh. It also gives me a chance to go through the baskets and clean things out that don't belong or need to be thrown away.
I made your well, it out. We're all parked.
We also have a larger toy box in the main living area where the odds and ends go. This box is worn and broken, and I am not going to paint it again. If you come over, you'll see how worn it is. About 5 times a year, I go in and do a massive clean out. Honestly, there's a lot of little things that just get thrown in. It's about brain space for me though. The boys help with this process, and they know that mom has the final say. Toys have a way of taking over the entire house if there's no system in place. A simple way to keep your kids' room and play areas organized is to create a storage system that works for your family. We're going a little backward in our day now and tackling the morning routine. I've talked about this numerous times, but it bears being said again because of how much it impacts my day. After I'm done working in the mornings, which is usually around 9 a.m., I do a quick cleanup of the entire house, and one of the main parts is tidying the bedrooms. One of the easiest and most effective ways to start the day with a tidy home is to make the bed. A bed made instantly makes a bedroom look cleaner, even if there are a few random dirty socks on the floor. Plus, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. The boys are required to help with this. They do their developmentally best at tackling making their bed and picking up toys, garbage, and dirty clothes on the floor. I don't get much leeway on this. It's one of the few required pieces of our day. They also spend a lot of time hanging out in our master bedroom while I'm working. So another big piece of this is tidying the master bedroom. There are so many studies about the mental power that making your bed in the morning gives you. One of my favorite podcasts, which is the Homemaker Chic podcast, spent an entire season tackling the idea of making your bed. It's season 8. I also think there is something powerful about making sure the master bedroom is not in a state of neglect. It should be a refuge, not a dump site. My fourth tidy tip is vacuuming the floors every day. Vacuuming the floors might seem like a big task, but it's a simple way to keep dust, dirt, and crumbs from piling up. Whether you have hardwood floors, carpets, or tile, a quick vacuum session each day can go a long way. Years ago, I told Dan that if I was going to be a working mom, then one of my requirements would have to be to have a robot vacuum cleaner on each floor of our house. I didn't mean it aggressively, but tidy floors are one of those brain space issues. Look, we're talking about overwhelm again. That will take me from calm to chaos in a matter of seconds. My experience is that robot vacuums wear out fast, so it's one of those investments that's a very conscientious decision because so far I usually have to replace them every 2 years or so I don't consider it like a financial investment. It's one of those things that you buy that you don't get a return for your money from. It's all about mental space, not being able to resell it at some point. I long ago decided that Shark robot vacuums are my favorite, and trust me, I've tried numerous ones. And what I have found that last the longest and are the most durable. This time of the year, I'm much less concerned about the state of our hard floors. As long as the dust and crumbs are picked up, I am not going to worry about washing them during spring. It's a battle lost before the washing of the floor is even finished. Maybe you can relate to that one. And we end our routines and tips with one of my least favorite things that have turned into one of my most prized times of mental peace: the laundry. Laundry can easily turn into a constant battle if left unchecked. The best way to stay on top of it is to make laundry part of your daily routine. We're at the point in our family where a load of laundry needs to be done every day. Depending on the size of your family, this may look different. We're a family of 6, soon to be 7. So for me, this means starting, sorting, and putting away at least one load of laundry every day, or at the very least every other day, especially on days when I'm going into the office and we have homeschool co-op. I have a little bit of flexibility with that. But for the most part, I'm doing something with the laundry to keep it moving every single day. With 5 boys and a pregnant me, this has been the only way to cut down the overwhelm that laundry can bring and to keep the laundry flowing, which brings mental peace. I have found that the best way to make laundry enjoyable is to use the time for something indulgent, like my favorite podcast or audiobook. Some of my favorite podcasts right now are The Simple Farmhouse Life, the Homemaker Chic podcast, the Art of Home podcast, and this one is kind of seasonal, but it's the Pain-Free Birth podcast. Keeping a clean house or a tidy house, which, like I said, I like that word better because it doesn't scream perfectionism to me, doesn't require deep cleaning every day. Also, by no means am I saying that these routines are some special formula that I alone have been bestowed with. Chances are you probably are doing many of them already. However, I always find it encouraging to hear from other moms and homemakers about what is working for them. And to be honest, these 5 routines are working for me right now. Feel free to drop in the comments what's working for you right now, because I always find that so fascinating to hear from other women. These simple things may seem small, but they add up to a tidy, stress-free home, at least for me. And the best news is that they don't take much time. A few minutes every day will help keep your whole family enjoying the benefits of a clean home without feeling overwhelmed, which seems to be the key word. A tidy home is necessary to reduce the overwhelm that we so often find ourselves in. One thing that I keep meaning to mention is the importance of constantly reviewing the things that are necessary in our homes. I have found that there is great benefit to viewing our stuff as inventory. Managing inventory takes space, time, and honestly, money too. Big box stores will often evaluate if excess inventory is worth the space, time, and money to keep around. And when it's not worth it, they reduce the price to move the inventory out. I feel like the same needs to be applied to our homes. Excess inventory can cause us to find ourselves in a constant state of overwhelm. Even things that have value sometimes need to move on. Chances are the items are not irreplaceable, and if they are, then keep them. If a space is overwhelming me, it's often time to reduce inventory in that area. If I can't tidy it up in 20 minutes or less, then it's probably an indication that I need to do some serious evaluation of my stuff. So remember, perfection is never the goal. But I do desire, and I'm guessing that you do too, to live in a peaceful home that we can enjoy.
What is on your hand? Is that a sliver?
Yeah.
If that is a sliver, you have an issue.